Hello there. Thank you for joining me again on my channel, The Serene Wellness Path. In this video, I have an interesting topic to discuss with you. These are the teachings given out by the great philosopher, doctor, healer and author, Dr. Deepak Chopra. He calls it the Metaphysics of Money. I chose this topic because I know that money is the main cause of misery and unhappiness in a lot of people. We've heard the expression in the Bible that the root of all evil is money, or the love of money, or something like that. And so is there some truth to it. And I find two categories of people who are usually extremely unhappy when it comes to money. One is those who are very poor, and second, those who are extremely rich. The reason I believe is that all they think about is money. So if all you think about is money, if your identity is tied to money, and if all your behavior and interactions with people and the world around money, then you're likely to be unhappy. And yet money is also required to make a living, to survive, to buy goods and services, to take vacations, to pay bills. It's part of our life, and without money, the world would come to a stop. So I thought maybe I would share with you all some ideas given by Dr. Deepak Chopra of what money is and how to create wealth consciousness. But even beyond that, how to experience wealth consciousness. When Dr. Deepak Chopra asked many people what they thought about this topic, the metaphysics of money, the 7 laws of abundance, some of them said they didn't like the phrase the metaphysics of money, and some said, well, it's probably similar to the 7 spiritual laws of success and therefore there's nothing new to it. But then he tries to explain us these 7 principles in his own way, and these are definitely not the usual ones you have come across. The first thing you have to understand is that money is a human creation. It is a human construct. In other words, we made it up just like we made up latitude and longitude and Greenwich Mean Time. And we made up the concept of money. It's our collective agreement on how we value things and how we exchange values. So before there was money, basically there was barter. I'll give you a haircut and you repair my shoe. I'll give you my chicken and you can wash the dishes. So basically it was exchanging services and exchanging things that we didn't have for things that we had pretty inconvenient. So people started creating little symbols. It was coins, little pieces of metal, copper or anything, and that could represent value. Okay, so instead of me giving you a haircut to you repairing my shoe, we used this little symbol and then ultimately it became paper. And basically it said, I owe you this and this is how you can spend it. And so money started. Along with money started commerce, and along with other human constructs, we ended up with empires and nation states and what we call human civilization, and a creation of our collective consciousness. That's the origin of money. And now, of course, money rules the world. There are countries so poor that they have huge problems, epidemics, violence, and all kinds of corruption and cronyism and influence peddling and issues like money laundering. Money laundering is an essential part of how big organizations indulge in terrorism. Without money, you can't go to war. And so money is creating problems in very poor countries, and it's no different in very rich countries. Money is the source of corruption and cronyism and influence peddling and bureaucracy and violence and greed and everything that we are troubled by, that creates anguish and unhappiness. So what is the best way to understand money, and what is the best way to generate it? What is the best way to spend it? And what is the best way to earn it? And with that in mind, Dr. Deepak Chopra created these 7 laws that follow the same principles of the 7 spiritual laws, that he calls them the 7 laws of abundance. The first law states that the source of abundance is infinite. It is infinite because the source of every experience is consciousness, and consciousness is by definition non-local, has no form, and therefore it's infinite, and the source of all experience is infinite, and therefore it can never be in short supply. So if we think deeply about this first law, the source of abundance is infinite. Of course, we want to get in touch with that source, and that source is our innermost being, which is the field of all possibilities, the field of unpredictability, the source of intention and desire, the field that is evolving in the direction of truth, goodness, beauty, harmony, and love. The field that is inexhaustible as a source for ongoing creativity and abundance, and it is simple to get in touch with the source by transcending the mind through meditation, through self-awareness, through self-reflection, through self-inquiry, through mindful awareness of every experience, mindful awareness of body, mindful awareness of the web of relationship, mindful awareness of mental space, and to engage this source of infinite possibilities by asking questions and receiving answers. Dr. Chopra has been in the habit of doing that every day all his life and reviewing this process every night before he goes to sleep. The second law of abundance is, whatever you want to receive, start by giving out the same to others. If you want attention, you pay attention to others. If you want respect, you give respect to others. If you want love, you give your love to everyone that you meet. Respect, love, attention, affection, appreciation, acceptance are very simple things to start with. But if you want to generate wealth and figure out a way to generate wealth for others, and also figure out how you can activate abundance consciousness in others, and one way to do this is also to experience gratitude. So when you experience gratitude, it opens the door to abundance consciousness. Think of all the things you're grateful for, all material things, relationships, health, career, and as you open the door of gratitude, it leads to the realm of abundance. So next time, whenever you get a chance and see any homeless person on road, give me some money, a good amount as per your standards, and not just give it away without any feeling. Look into his eye and establish a connection between spirits. To understand abundance, you need to live in that process and don't stop the flow of abundance by hoarding money. If you hoard money, it's of no use, right? What are you going to do with it if you just hoard it? Spend it. Spend it on yourself, spend it on others, spend it on your friends, spend it on charity, spend it for a cause, spend it for an experience, and exactly always think, what's the best use of the money that I have? The third law mentions that money is the exchange of values. In fact, the way a society spends money is a clue to their values. So right now, most wealthy nations and even some unreal conditions, poor nations are spending money on weapons, on mechanized death, on drugs, alcohol, on gambling, on sleazy stuff. And that only represents the collective consciousness of bad money, bad karma, and therefore stay away from any way that generates money through harm. And this is what the great teacher of all time, the Buddha, said. Right livelihood is that kind of livelihood that creates joy in the world, that increases abundance in the world, increases and improves the quality of life in the world. Understand that when you're exchanging money, you're exchanging values. The fourth law states that wealth is a state of consciousness. It's not the amount of money, but it is the state of consciousness that you can generate wealth and abundance. So what is that state of consciousness? It's actually a state of consciousness that he calls spontaneous creativity. Spontaneous creativity comes when there is a pause between what we call experience, the gap between thoughts, the gap between intention, the gap between perception, the gap between breath, the space between choices. Same place which he mentioned in the first principle, the infinite self, where there is spontaneous creativity. When there is spontaneous creativity, there is no resistance, there is no anticipation, there is no regret. When you're totally present and you're experiencing what is called a flow, because you know deep inside you that your only intention ultimately is the progressive expansion of happiness for yourself and for everyone else. And as you do that, then that spontaneous creativity will activate intention, which will find the creative source for fulfilling that intention. He says that intention has organizing power and intention organizes its own fulfillment. So that leads to the fifth principle, which says that intention and attention in the field of infinite possibilities is all that matters. Have the intention of what you want to create with the abundance you have, and then with that intention go and transcend. When you transcend to the source of all creations. There are many ways of transcending: through music, through a walk in nature, through poetry, through dance, through whirling, through meditation, through play, and through collective envisioning. Collective envisioning is when you have a group of people who have a vision together, when you have an open system, when you're totally transparent, when you invite even absurd ideas, when you make unlikely connections, then something emerges. And we call that emergence to create a group for wealth. Consciousness, and if you create that group, and if you are transparent, and if you invite unlikely alliance, if you have maximum diversity of people from the arts, from the humanities, from sciences, from any field, technology, mathematics, whatever, and you sit and incubate together with attention and intention, then emergence happens. The emergence of abundance in this case. He gives an example that he knows somebody in New York who raised $450 million through crowdsourcing for creating a place for spiritual enlightenment. But this is how they did it: crowdsourcing with authenticity, with sincerity, with integrity, and with joy. So that leads to the sixth principle, which says that the key to abundance is letting go. The law of detachment simply means an understanding that no experience is grasped forever. Grasping and clinging actually prevent the flow that intention and attention needs to reach its destination. So not clinging, not grasping, letting go is the secret to reach that level of abundance. Finally, the seventh principle, which says that the purpose of wealth, of course, is to create joy and expand happiness for us and for everybody else. Deepak says that he has followed these principles all his life, and he says that his journey has been one of the effortless spontaneity, and he doesn't apologize for success and doesn't apologize for the fact that spirituality can be a source of abundance and wealth. Because if you feel guilty about wealth and you feel guilty about money, then you will end up with guilt and no wealth at the same time. That's not a good state of being. So to summarize this, the 7 principles states that the source of abundance is infinite. What you want to receive, start with giving. Money is the exchange of values, and wealth is the result of spontaneous creativity that resides in every human being. Intention and attention is all you need, and the key to abundance is letting go. Finally, never forget the fact that the purpose of life is the progressive expansion of happiness for everyone. I hope this video would have given you great insight. Please do not forget to like this video and subscribe to my channel if this has been helpful for you.